You know, you've talked about the four grey swans of uncertainty before, but I believe you've recently added to this list the hotly debated decision to hold a referendum on UK's European membership. What effect will this have on the UK's economic prospects? Would you say that such a development will undermine client confidence and adversely affect the media industry globally?
Well, it's certainly a fifth grey swan, if you like, in the context of the UK. So the EU referendum would occur in something like 2016 or 17 after a general election. So we don't even know whether the current government will be in power, but let's assume they are for the moment. Ironically, it might be that referendum takes place at precisely the same time as Western Europe starts to recover. I mean, we've referred to many people talking about a lost decade. If you think about Lehman or the subprime or insurance monoline crisis having started in 07, it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 6 years that we've had a crisis, certainly in Western Europe, and it seems unlikely that we'll come out of that crisis for some little time. In fact, George Osborne, the UK Chancellor, did say in his last budget speech, I think, that it's unlikely that we'll see a recovery in the UK until 2018. Which would make 10 years that lost decade. So it's a difficult environment in which to operate, and we'll see slow growth. Having said that, the EU referendum does introduce another element of uncertainty, and the sort of votes that we've seen with the Swiss referendum on executive pay, what we've seen the EU do on bankers' pay and bonuses, and what we're seeing in terms of focus on corporate taxation and personal taxation, I think really it actually, net-net, I think, reflects the change in the balance of power that we're seeing in the world, the shift from the West to the East to here, to places like Singapore, to the South, to Latin America. This will be the decade of Latin America, with Brazil having the World Cup and the Olympics, and Brazil's brand, I'm sure, will be strengthened by these events, and indeed Latin America's brand will. And then we'll have Sochi Olympics, Winter Olympics in Russia. We'll have the World Cup coming in Russia and Qatar in a few years' time. So all these things add up, I think, to underlining the shift that we're seeing in the world economic order and social order and political order, and the West being uncomfortable in some ways with that shift and having to deal with it.
You know, you've also categorically stated that this may well be a lost decade in the West after Moody's downgrade of the UK. What does this downgrade mean for the marketing and media sector? Would this have implications on WPP's global strategy?
Well, the downgrade, I mean, we've seen other downgrades in France and elsewhere, and it's not, and in fact, I think government yields actually have fallen since the downgrade, either because they were anticipating it before or for whatever reason. So it's more emblematic. I mean, I think it is emblematic of what we've been talking about before. It's emblematic of the difficulty of the situation, the longevity of the situation, the fact that it's going to take a long time to get it right, and the seriousness of what happened between August 2007 and September 2008. Remember, we had subprime crisis, insurance monoline crisis, Bear Stearns in March of 2008, and then finally it culminated with that terrible weekend around Lehman in 2008, September 2008. So what happened was extremely serious, and it's going to take a long time for those deep wounds to heal. Whether you're talking about it economically, or politically, or socially. And of course the catastrophe is the unemployment that we see in Western Europe, which in the youth segments of the population is as much as 50% of the population, for example, in Spain.
You know, you've also gone on record to say that you're expecting double-digit growth from China and significant business from Latin America, given the Football World Cup in Brazil and midterm elections that are scheduled soon. What's on the cards for India?
Well, I mean, I see India in the context of the BRICS and the next 11, or the MIST, or the civets, or the new G8, however you want to define it. And, you know, India is, for us, a must. Often people say, do you think India is a better or worse prospect than China? My answer to that is you don't choose. That what you try and do is develop your business, our business, in all those markets, and you don't say one is better than the other. Many people, in fact, India has billed itself as the fastest growing democracy in the world, and I think that's a good positioning. But having said that, I don't think you discriminate between any of the BRICS or any of the next 11s or any other acronym that you wish to coin. I think you look for the faster growth markets and you push on open doors. And that's not just geographically, it's functionally as well. It's in terms of digital, new media, and in terms of consumer insight and application of technology and big data. India for us is a core market. As I've mentioned before, $500 million of revenue, about 13 to 14,000 people. We'll cross $500 million this year. We're very proud of our Indian business. We want to keep on adding to it, and will do. Not just in advertising and media investment management, but in public relations and public affairs, in consumer insight, in branding and identity, in healthcare communications, and last but not least, direct and digital and specialist communications. So it offers us, and then also our management is now starting to, Indian management, to become more and more responsible for our business on a worldwide basis. Vikram is now running Maxis from India, which is unique actually. I can't think of any other global operation of that scale, and Maxis is the newest of our media brands, but the fastest growing of our media brands. I can't think of any other company in our industry that is located, its headquarters is in India. So we think the quality of our Indian people is superb. I often say that if everybody was as good as our Indian management outside, that I could retire, which everybody cheers violently at.